Hello Glasgow families, welcome to our Return to School presentation. My name is Stephen McFarlane and I'm one of the assistant principals here at Glasgow, and we are eagerly awaiting students' arrival in just the next few weeks. And we know that there's a lot of questions, and so what our goal is with this presentation is just to answer as many questions as possible and show you what life is going to be like at Glasgow. We are also going to release with this video a FAQ document for some of the questions we've been receiving, which hopefully will help answer any and all of the questions that someone may have. And to be clear, we will have a town hall on Tuesday the 23rd, February 23rd. It is going to be the same exact presentation that I'm giving right here. We know not everyone is able to attend the town hall, so we wanted to make sure that we're recording the slides, recording the presentation, so that if you're not able to attend, you have all the information that we're going to go over on the 23rd. So like I said, we're focused on keeping students and staff safe and healthy as we return to the building. And we're following the recommended health guidance that focuses on student health, safety, as well as emotional well-being. And as I continue through this presentation, I'm going to highlight many of the procedures we put in place to keep everyone safe. But we know schools and families, we must form a partnership. So we ask that if your child is returning to in-person instruction, you continue to talk to them about the importance of wearing a mask and social distancing, and many of the other important steps that go into place upon their return. And we also know in thinking about that partnership, here's what we're doing to prepare Glasgow students. In Panther time, students are going to be working through these lessons, as well as having class discussions around what school will look like. These lessons, they're going to be starting this week and they're going to continue into next week. And students are going to be shown pictures of how the classrooms are set up, our hallways, our cafeteria, and many other areas. And this is just a reminder of our return to school schedule. So our 8th graders are going to be returning during the week of March 2nd, and our 6th and 7th graders are going to be returning during the week of March 9th. And you may have also noticed that our bell schedule it changed this last week. And some of the bigger changes was the release time. It's now 2 o'clock. As well as our staggered lunches, which includes brain breaks, and that's to accommodate both our virtual and in-person learners. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. As additional grade levels, as they return to school, we're going to employ concurrent instruction for our in-person students. And that's a model in which students receive 2 days of teacher-led instruction in the building and two days of teacher-led instruction at home. And so students who choose to learn virtually, they're going to receive all 4 days of teacher-led instruction at home. Concurrent instruction, it maximizes teacher-led instruction, and it allows the in-person students to log on into class on those at-home days. And then all students, those who have chosen in-person or to remain virtual, are going to receive the same 4 days of teacher-led instruction. And this is how the week is going to look for our middle schoolers. Groups A and B are the groups that will attend in person, and they're going to have 2 days a week, and then our they'll be virtually attending 2 days a week. And this is going to allow for our social distancing in the classrooms. And our group C, they represent our full-time online students, and they're going to receive the teacher-led instruction for all 4 days at home. And students who selected full-time virtual learning, they're still going to be able to be part of the class and connecting with their same teachers. Their schedule's not changing. They're just going to receive all 4 days virtually. Some may wonder what concurrent instruction is going to look like at Glasgow. And actually, in many ways, the lessons and structures are going to continue to look similar to the structures we've been working through this year. This allows teachers to personalize instruction for every student. So this slide are just 3 examples of the many examples that we have of what students have already been doing. And what you're going to notice is there's a blend of independent work, there's some small group work in there, there's the teacher check-in time to receive that personalized feedback. This structure is going to remain the same regardless of whether your student is 100% virtual or using the in-person concurrent model. And for those of you that are returning to the building, the next section highlights the safety protocols that we have in place. FCPS custodians, they've adjusted their cleaning process to better address the current considerations. And, they're using EPA-approved hospital-grade disinfectant. They're sanitizing products to clean our facilities daily. And these procedures have changed, and they've been doing this for months now. Our custodians, they've been sanitizing and disinfecting more frequently. Their cleaning protocol includes, disinfecting everything and sanitizing all surfaces, the doors, the toilets, the handles, and ensuring that all the supplies are fully stocked. And our cafeteria looks very different this year, especially if you're a returning 7th or 8th grader. We have pulled out all the cafeteria style tables and we've put them with individual student desks. These desks are all spaced at 6 feet apart. Students are going to be required to face one direction, and our lunches, they're going to have assigned seats based on the class when that class comes down. Masks will be required when they're not eating, and also in regard to the cafeteria, FCPS is offering grab-and-go lunches for all students. And what that means is that lunches are pre-packaged. So students aren't going to be like walking through the lunch lines and having food that's exposed. They also don't have to put in their ID or their codes because breakfast and lunches are free for all students this year. And that is if they choose to do the FCPS breakfast and lunch. But again, it's free for all students if they desire. By now you've possibly noticed the brain breaks. Now the brain breaks, they're created for our virtual students. A 30-minute lunch, it doesn't allow them enough time to go to a lunch distribution site and then return in enough time. So that additional 15 minutes provides that additional needed time. And for students that are in person, this is a supervised 15-minute break. It's an unstructured class time. Some teachers may choose to play games, do community builders, or just kind of hang out and talk. We've had some questions about what is transitions like. Normally our transitions are 5 minutes, and now we have 10-minute transitions. And so, what transitions look like at Glasgow is students that they're moving to their next class. The bathrooms will be open and they will be monitored by an adult for capacity. There's a chance to wash their hands in addition to using the bathroom. The social distancing to the largest extent possible, and I have some pictures in a little bit that will show what that looks like in the hallways. And then if a student gets to a class while the teacher's prepping or not quite there yet, they're just going to wait against the wall of the lockers while the teacher prepares a room and lets them in. Our library is still open, and for students that are in person, there's going to be a chance to visit the library and check out books and do that. For our virtual students, there's 2 options to check out books. A student can place a book on hold and they can pick it up from the front office during the school hours. And we also plan to continue our Mobile Mondays. There's specific dates and times and details in our family FAQ that's being released. But if you do have any specific questions about checking out a book, whether you are a 100% virtual, or if you're in person, just please contact Tara Sands, and her email's on the previous slide. So next, let's move to our safety protocols. There are 5 mitigation strategies that the CDC has recommended for schools, and this is in FCPS, this is what we've been using. And it really comes down to the consistent and correct use of masks, social distancing, cleaning and disinfecting, the hand hygiene, and then contact tracing. And in order to help with this, parents and guardians who choose in-school instruction for their child, they're asked to complete a parent-guardian health screening commitment form. This document indicates that the parent or the guardian's agreement to completing a daily health screening prior to sending the student. Now, to be clear, we don't need an actual document. It's an honor basis, but that you will be going through you're committing to going through and checking to make sure that your student's well and that you're not sending them to school. There's 2 ways to fill this out. If you have a parent view account, you can do that online, and nothing to print off or to turn in. You can do it that way. If you'd like to print it off or you'd like to turn in a hard copy, you could also do that and just send it into the main office. And also in order to ensure that all schools, and in our case, specifically Glasgow, that we're consistent in implementing those 5 mitigation strategies, FCPS created safety teams. And these teams have already been visiting us weekly for the last almost 2 months now. When the safety teams come, they've been observing how well we are following the 5 mitigation strategies. And so they spend at least 2 hours here. They're looking at our arrival and dismissal, our classrooms, our care rooms, our break rooms. They're looking at all aspects of the building. And what I will say is we've had, hundreds of students off and on over the last couple months for testing or for different groups that have reported in. We're getting really good reports from the safety teams just about the way that our staff and our students are taking the mitigations seriously, the language we're using to remind students. Our students are complying with any requests. And so all in all, we've had really good reports in terms of these safety teams and us at Glasgow implementing these 5 mitigation strategies. Now, has been a change from the fall. The daily temperature checks, FCPS is no longer conducting daily temperature checks for students or staff and visitors. The CDC recommended this for schools, and a lot of it coming down to the accuracy of the thermometers, especially when you're outside and in extreme temperatures. And also some of the symptoms, they don't identify, they only identify that might be sick, if that person has any of the COVID-19. And so the daily health screening is really important before any student comes back. All students are required, and actually anyone really, it's not just students, are required to wear face coverings on school property. And face coverings are provided to students if they're unable, but they're encouraged to bring their own. But we do have extras if a student loses one or it gets misplaced on the way to school. And if in very rare cases, if a student needs an exemption, like a medical exemption, that is something that needs to be worked out with a doctor, and we do need that doctor's confirmation and note submitted. But otherwise, everyone in FCPS buildings are required to wear a mask. And this is something that we're going to be covering with the students as well before they transition back. And it really comes down to, it's got to cover the nose, it's got to cover the chin, it's got to be tight to the side of the face. And schools are going to be sending out the bus transportation information. And so I know we've been working with transportation and they're getting that finalized. To be clear, the bus capacity has been reduced significantly to allow for social distancing on the bus. Students are also required to wear a face mask when they get on the bus, and if a student shows up to a bus stop and somehow forgot their mask, a bus driver will have extra masks as well. And then bus stops information will be coming, and you also will have access to that in the parent view if you'd like to do that as well. So what does arrival and dismissal look like at Glasgow? We have our kiss and ride, we have our walkers, and we have our bus. The building, so classes start at 7:30, but the building, we're going to open it up starting at 7 a.m. Our teachers are going to be in their classrooms at 7 a.m. So students that come into the building, they won't be going into any big holding areas like they had in years past. They're going to go directly to their first and second period class. If a student chooses to get breakfast, they will have that opportunity to swing by the cafeteria and do a grab and go. We do have like I mentioned with the cafeteria, it is socially distanced. They will be able to quickly eat their breakfast and then head up. Our dismissal is going to be a staggered dismissal. And just a reminder that we do have that 2 p.m. dismissal time now. And we're going to dismiss classrooms at 1:55, 1:57, and 2 o'clock just to stagger our kids exiting out the building. And our social distancing, it really comes down to the 6-foot separation whenever possible, especially on buses, with our desks and our classrooms, and also the traffic patterns. And there's a lot of information here, and I just wanted to show you actually what that looks like at Glasgow and what we're doing. On the top left is one of the classrooms that have been set up. You can see that our desks are spread apart. That we have removed a lot of the excess student furniture, the extra desks and chairs. So as teachers are coming back into the building, they're getting their teacher desk and their tech station set up, and then they're continuing to get their desks set up and the student desks at a 6 feet distance. We've got signs that are on the floor, we've got signs that are on lockers, on walls, and then the bottom right is actually our hallways have been turned into basically a 2-lane road. You can see that there's a dotted line down the middle. So during transitions, students will be able to follow this pathway. We have directional arrows in our stairwells and in our hallways. And these are just some of the ways that social distancing and those is going to look at Glasgow. And we know that hand washing and sanitizing is incredibly important, and we've built in that time and the structures to ensure that this is happening at Glasgow. You know, we have the 10-minute transition times, the bathrooms are going to be open for hand washing, and we also have the hand sanitizer stations. And this is what this looks like at Glasgow, and really we're just thinking about it, framing it to students and faculty is sanitize on the way in and out. And so on the bottom right, you see a picture. Every single classroom has one of those gallon jugs of hand sanitizer, as well as one of those smaller bottles. Those will continue to be filled up by custodians every night as they get low. We also have hand sanitizer dispensing stations, that picture on the left, spread throughout our building. It's at every entrance, it's in our cafeteria, it's in some of the hallways. You know, and I recognize that there's a lot on this slide, and what this slide really boils down to is school supplies and water fountains. And so what you're going to notice is our water fountains are to be used only as bottle filling stations. So the sign that you see posted there on the right above the water fountain, that's above every single one of our water fountains in the building. And this is something that we're going to explicitly teach our students as well before they transition back. You know, in thinking about this, the next slide really pares down what we're asking students to bring every single day. And it comes down to these 4 things. Their FCPS laptop, and hopefully it can be charged every night. Bring a charger, bring headphones, and then a water bottle. We do have a few spare extra computers if a student should forget one, but you know, we're doing everything we can to remember that the students are bringing these 4 things. We do have extra chargers in every single classroom, and we do have a few extra headphones should a student need one. And again, we don't have any water bottles, so it's just a great reminder that students should be trying to remember to grab a water bottle as well. You know what, visitors were really, FCPS is just really trying to limit the amount of visitors coming into a building. So, you know, if a visitor does need to come in, we do need to have a scheduled appointment. You have to complete the health screening questionnaire. Just like all staff and students have to wear a mask, visitors have to do that as well. You know, we've had some parents that are coming for various reasons, and a lot of times right now, if they do have to come to school, we're meeting with them outside of door 1. And again, visitors at certain times will be coming to FCPS facilities, but that is all through a schedule, and it's not people just coming in and out as they please. So what happens if someone gets sick at school? I think it's important to differentiate this slide and the next slide. We still have a school health room. So the health room is what students are used to, right? That's the health room, or what we've called the clinic. You know, that's for if a student maybe has a specific medicine that they have to take, and that's been worked out with the health aide, and the parent, you know, the families have come in and worked that out. Or if there's like a physical injury, maybe a student gets a bloody nose, they will absolutely go to the health room and they'll be able to handle that. You know, the second part of this is the care room, and the care room is what's new since we've, you know, as we come back and thinking about our mitigation strategies. So the care room is for any student that is experiencing any type of symptoms that could be associated with COVID-19. This is separate from the health room. So this is a designated room. It's got windows, it has a bathroom, and really any student that is exhibiting any of these symptoms, they're going to be escorted to the care room. If they have a fever or cough, chills, you know, and you can go on and read, you know, what the symptoms that could be associated with COVID-19. They'll be taken to the care room, and then, you know, we'll contact parents and or guardians immediately, and expected just to be picked up within an hour. And there's a big long list and protocols in terms of if a student is, you know, how the student returns to school, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I think really what it comes down to is if a student's not feeling well, just stay home. If they're, just communicate with the school, give us a call, let us know the reason. But if they're not feeling well, just make sure they're staying home, and then we can work out all the different scenarios. And this is part of that returning to school. What I will say is that there's a lot of different scenarios. If they're showing signs of COVID, or if they've been exposed, or if they've been diagnosed, there's a lot to read here. In the resources that we're going to send out, we're going to actually send out these slides. There's links here. What I will say is there's a lot of different ways that this can go in terms of like steps in terms of how a student returns to school after they've been ill. And this really just comes down to the communication with the school. We'll continue to talk and walk you through the specific, you know, because each case could could be is pretty independent and they're individualized. And so just know that there's a variety of ways and things that include, you know, potentially seeing a doctor and getting a doctor's note and or a COVID test in certain cases. So again, we'll walk you through that, but just be sure that we're communicating with the school and we can go through all of those various steps. You know, in certain cases, if COVID has been confirmed, what I will say is we meaning FCPS work incredibly closely with the Fairfax County Health Department. So there's a lot of different ways that this can go, and the health department walks us through, you know, especially the contract tracing and who we're contacting and who they're contacting and how quickly. And this process does happen pretty quickly. And they also give us guidance on whether, you know, a certain classrooms or if the whole school may potentially need to shut down for a few days. And again, this can go a lot of different ways, and all of this is to sum up as saying that as soon as we have a confirmed COVID case, the Fairfax County Health Department is involved, and they're walking us, and we're walking through this together, going through the contract tracing, and they'll give us guidance. And we'll also be able to communicate very quickly with families that are involved or may be involved in this situation. You know, as we close today, know that we are going to release these slides, and there's a lot of just resources that if you're interested and you want to dive a little bit deeper. We do know that this is a stressful time, and middle school stressful for a lot of students, just regardless of COVID-19. And coming back, we just want our students and our families to know that, you know, our counselors, our school psychologists, our social workers, you know, we are ready to receive students, and we're also ready to check in on the mental well-being and the wellness of our students. And so we are taking that into account for sure, the mental health aspect of coming back to building or even in a virtual setting. Our counselors and our school psychologists, our social workers are available. Again, these slides are going to come out, and there's some helpful links if you'd like to dive a little bit deeper into some of these situations. It's got the health screening, mental health resources, parent view if you are interested in doing that. We have links to the CDC and the Virginia Department of Health. We also have some how-to videos in terms of how should you wear a mask, what does riding the bus look like, some FCPS school daily procedures, and again, parent view if that's something you don't have or you're interested in learning more about. And lastly, these are school administrators that you can see what Ms. Madigan, who's our principal, is listed on top, or Mr. Chung, our Director of Student Services, is next. And then you have all our APs and our deans and our caseloads, and just any questions, whether it's related to your specific student or obviously Ms. Madigan or Mr. Chung, our emails are included, and we're happy to talk and email back and forth, give you a call, and answer any questions that you may have. You know, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And again, please reach out with any questions, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that the building is safe. And we are really, really excited to welcome your students back in just a few short weeks.